Hi, this is Katrina Sargent, owner and creator of Double Doll Custom Creations. Today we're going to be doing both of these full glitter Buffalo Plaid tumblers for epoxy or Crystalac users. I want to give a huge shout out to Jennifer Ness. I watched her video on how to do this in 2019 and it is amazing. Go check it out. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. Like always, I will have everything linked in the description below, including my beginner's Tumbler tutorials for epoxy users or Crystalac users. So you're going to prep and paint your tumblers your darkest color. Here's black and then the gold for my chunky. This tumbler is a 24-ounce curve. I use 1-inch painter's tape for this. And on my 20-ounce skinny, I'm using a 1/2 inch painter's tape. You're going to want to just start out with a straight line. This might take a little bit of moving and tape around until you get a straight line. I eyeball it, but like I said, Jennifer Ness has these templates that you can follow to make sure your lines are straight. So once you have your first straight line, you're then going to be adding a divider line that you're going to be removing before you paint it your next color. Do this around your entire tumbler. You're going to have to pick it up and eyeball it, make sure it is straight, unless you have 100% straight tumbler. These tapered tumblers are a little bit more challenging. Once all your vertical lines are on straight, then you can move on to your horizontal lines. So I just follow the very top edge and I keep a little bit of tension on the tape itself as I rotate this. It's not going to be as difficult on these, but if you had like a wine glass or a tumbler that has a harsh taper, you're going to want to keep your tension and keep your thumb in place as you turn your tumbler. This is going to help keep it a straight line. I dog ear all of my ends so it's easier to remove in the next step. You're then going to add a divided line again to remove. This is just to keep your spacing correct. Do it all the way length of your tumbler. Since I'm doing chunky on this bottom half, I stop after the curve because I'm going to be taping that off before I spray paint the next color. On the curve, you want to make sure your tape is 100% attached to your tumbler. So what I do is I take my finger or my thumb and press it along to adhere to the tumbler and kind of pinch the extra tape over one of those vertical lines. And then I'm going to take some cling wrap and just wrap up that bottom half that I don't want any red spray paint to get on. I'm going to do the exact same thing for my skinny, just using a 1/2 inch wide painter's tape. I use my mixed glitter on the bottom of these tumblers, so I tape off the bottom before I spray paint. You want to make sure your tape is 100% adhered to your tumbler, so take your nail or your squeegee and just kind of run it along where those two tapes overlap. To get my mixed color, I mix my black and red in equal parts. I use a little medicine cup, mix it up, and then I pour it on a piece of paper to make sure my black, my mixed, and my red are different shades. It would really stink to get this on the tumbler and realize your colors are too similar to each other that you don't see the gradient or the different shades. You're going to want a container of water to wash off your brushes as you're working. I like these angled brushes. There's an inch, a ½ inch, and a 3/4 inch. I start out with my biggest and then work down. So your first color is going to be your lightest color, which is my red. I take the Mod Podge and I kind of just lather it on those squares that do not have the tape. I then go both directions. So I go up and down and side to side. This is just trying to make sure each square all the way to the corners are fully covered. I will do a couple rows and then glitter, and I'll do this around the entire tumbler. You need to let your glue, whatever glue you choose to use, dry fully before you move on to your next colors, because if you don't, your glitter can cascade into those wet areas and stick on it and won't give you the nice crisp squares you're looking for. Once everything is fully glittered with that lightest color, then I remove all of my horizontal tape and then let it fully dry about 45 minutes to an hour before I move on to the next glitter color. After that glue has dried, I then take my ½ inch angled brush and then I kind of just daub on a little bit in each little section. And then I take my angled brush and kind of bump it up against that glitter line. The glue can go over the edge of the tape, but you don't want it to go over that glitter line. This is how you're going to get your nice, sharp, crisp edges. Once you have all of your glue on, then you're just going to glitter your mixed color in all of these spaces that are open right now. And then once I have all of my first mixed parts done, I can remove my vertical tape and then let it fully dry for about an hour before moving on to my darkest color. So now is the hard part, the dark color. You need to take your time with this. I have two different pieces of paper. This is the one I'm going to knock off any glitter off my tumbler, and then the other one is going to be just the ones that fall off. Your black glitter, you're going to have some red fall off. So that's why I don't tap my tumbler over the cascading black, or you're going to end up with red in your black glitter. So your black color is going to go between those two mixed squares that you just painted. Take your time on this step. Bump your angled brush up to that glitter on both sides, and then you can attach those two together on the top to make the top of the square. Your next glitter colors are going to go based on these squares. So this is the most challenging part of the entire process, is trying to make sure your squares stay squares freehand. A thing to keep in mind when you're picking out your black glitter, make sure it has a little bit of silver sparkle in it, so once it is epoxied or bright tone, it still has some sparkle instead of looking like tar, just straight up black tar under epoxy or your bright tone. So you're going to do black squares on every square between the mixed glitters, all the way up your tumbler. Once you're done with all your black squares, you're then going to let your glue dry for about an hour before moving on to filling in all of the empty spaces with your mixed glitter. So I just take the angled brush, that point, put it up into that point of the square, turn my brush, do the exact same thing on the other side, and then turn my tumbler and do the bottom part of the square. This is just making sure I get every corner of each square bumped up against the glitter to give it a nice full square. If you have any spaces that are not fully glittered after everything's dry, you can just touch it up with a little paintbrush, add a little glue, and then glitter it. You won't even know you had to touch it up. When you're going to attach your gold glitter, you need to make sure your bright tone or epoxy is extremely thin. If it's too thick, the gold glitter will move and shift. If you're using bright tone, you need to work fairly quick because it dries a lot faster than epoxy. But I kind of sprinkle on a finer cut gold, and then I add my chunkies. I start from the bottom and then make sure the bottom is completely covered, and then I shake as I go up the tumbler. The closer I get to that curve, the less shaking I do, or then I tap the very top to get it more to randomly sprinkle onto the plaid to give it a little bit more ombre look. And then I take a small piece of wax paper and kind of tap down those chunkies to get them to lay flat. Then I take that fine gold glitter and kind of sprinkle it into any open areas one last time. And then I let this turn for 6 hours for epoxy, 4 hours for bright tone. Once you have enough coat, then you can move on to sanding. I like sanding blocks. This is a medium grit and an ultra fine. The medium grit I use for my rims because you have to have a stainless steel rim on all of your tumblers so your bright tone or epoxy attaches to the tumbler and not where the lid goes. I personally love doing metallic gold vinyl on these. I will link my favorite gold vinyl in the description, but you want to make sure everything is sanded extremely smooth or you will see the bumps under that vinyl. When it's time to sand the chunky, if you find a piece that's kind of sharp or sticking up, take a sharp craft knife and cut it away versus sanding it away. The sanding will just remove the color off the glitter, and you're going to have a silver piece of used to be gold glitter on your tumbler. I take a craft knife and run it along the top to remove any spillovers when it was on the turner. If you're going to add a decal, now is the time if it's smooth after sanding, and then you just epoxy or bright tone until glass smooth. I hope everyone liked this tutorial. I hope they learned something new. Please like, share, subscribe. It means the world to me. And if you have any questions or concerns or comments, please write them in the comments. I do write back. Hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I post a new video, which is every Wednesday, except around holidays. Thank you everyone for your continued support.